This is Voldemort's mom, as she would have appeared in the Greek Empire. Or I'm just making that joke because her nose is missing, but still fairly similar. This is a depiction of age, arguably of disability in the classical world, something we haven't seen from the Greeks. To the Greeks, anyone with a physical disability is basically drawing off of the common treasury. To them, if you were born with a physical disability, you would be left to be exposed so that the wolves or whatever else can consume the body, or you die. But at least there's that separation. We don't know if you die or not. And we generally don't see depictions of people who are aged, etc., in the Greek world until we get into the Hellenistic. This is probably the Persian involvement that's really drawing it out. And she's carved in marble. She would have, again, once been painted, and she is life-size, probably part of a larger group that existed. We just don't have the rest of the group. And she's likely very public. In other words, part of a public group like we see here. And that's in part because of the large scale. This is life-size, if not bigger, but we're not entirely certain of its original purpose. It does reflect certain realities of a cosmopolitan society where we're going to see these sorts of things. Remarkably, her nose grew back in this one. There's another copy, possibly, or a bit of a digital restoration. She's naturalistic. She's old. She looks like she's probably in her 70s or 80s. And when you look at her, you go, well, no one lived that long. Well, no, they did. If you live past the age of 10, you probably made it, especially in the Greek world, to 60, 65, somewhere in there. Not that far from modern life expectancies. And it's not something we typically think of because they don't depict it. The Greeks are always depicting themselves in their teens and 20s. They're not showing age, not until the Hellenistic. Also a very highly detailed piece. We get a sense of how she moves, of how she interacts with the world around her. First of all, this bend in the back gives us the sense that she's probably arthritic. The movement, as I go back to where I'm supposed to be, the movement in the feet give a sense that she steps forward and maybe she's dragging this foot a little bit. Maybe the weight of the bags of the groceries is a bit much. We see the breast sagging and almost falling out, and that would be reminiscent of both age but also motherhood. Again, the depiction of breasts usually associated with motherhood. So we get a sense of someone who has lived their life fully. We have a sculpture which is basically anonymous. We don't know who carved it. There is no marking on it for that. But it makes sense. I mean, if you're carving the mother of Voldemort, you're going to do the same thing. Although in this detail, I just want to point out one other thing. You see these holes in the hair. What they're doing is they're using a drilling technique. So they're drilling into the stone, not just to be able to recreate these sculptures, very common. You can measure things out and kind of drill into the stone you're going to be working with, and then you carve away all of the holes, and you are left with the finished piece. But also it's a way to create depth. For example, in hair, you can imagine these were some kind of curls that were going around these holes, and they drilled out the middle to give it that depth and realism that we so associate with Greek sculpture.